December 3rd, 2019. Airtime Thrills releases a blockbuster video, 20 coasters that could be gone in 5 years. June 6, 2022. Airtime Thrills releases a halfway checkpoint for how those coasters are doing and offers up 10 new coasters that could be in danger. December 2nd, 2024. Airtime Thrills 5 years has expired, and it's officially time to own up to my predictions. So, December 2019. Back then, we didn't know much of anything about COVID, and that was a major bombshell that disrupted the entire industry. Let's just call that my excuse for being so wrong. Anyway, let's go over my 20 coasters again, and what I said about it during my halfway checkpoint video in 2022. There, I gave it a danger score from 1 to 10, based on how much danger I thought the coaster was in at that point. My number 20 coaster was Desperado at Buffalo Bills. This shut down about a month before my first video, and by my midterm video, it was testing. The resort keeps saying they'll reopen it, but since I posted my first video, it has not seen a single rider. I gave this a 7 on the danger scale, and it may turn out its last ride was back in 2019. Or it may actually reopen. Who knows at this point, but nothing has changed, so I was wrong about this one. Number 19 was Dragonfire at Canada's Wonderland. This was not the last coaster I was axing from Canada's Wonderland, but we know this park does not like removing coasters. They're adding a new one this year, and lo and behold, they didn't remove anything to add it, even though they're 100% developed. I gave this a 6 out of 10. I thought this plot of land in the front of the park could be used for something modern and small, but as of now, Dragonfire lives on. Number 18 was in Vertigo at Kings Island. I thought maybe Kings Island would want to redo their park entrance. It's one of the last major Cedar Fair parks not to do it, and starting something like a wing coaster over by Vertigo, having it run over the renovated park entrance, it seemed perfect. Ever since Orion, the park has been making mild modifications. This was the only coaster closed when I went there, but still, here it remains. I only gave this a 3 in 2022, and of course is still standing. Number 17 is Roar at Six Flags America. At the time, Six Flags was still going hard with RMC conversions. Twisted Cyclone just opened the year prior, but since then they've stopped, and I feel like Six Flags America got screwed over. By 2022, I gave up. I figured they'd keep rolling with it, and I gave it a 2. This was also close for me this year, but that doesn't seem like a trend, just a bad Six Flags day. Roar keeps on keeping on. Number 16 was Grizzly at California's Great America. It was just 3 weeks after my midterm video that we found out this park was going under. Cedar Fair sold the land the park was on and announced they were going to phase it out over the next 11 years. Even on June 6, 2022, I thought Cedar Fair was into this park. They had made some big moves over the past 10 years, and this lame wooden coaster would be easy to RMC or knock down for a new launch coaster. I gave it a 6. Now, the only way this closes down is if the park closes down. They're going to do very little for this park from now until its time expires. Number 15 was Ninja at Six Flags St. Louis. It's hard to believe this is still around, but the only reason I thought this coaster had a chance was because Six Flags doesn't like this park. Pretty much, you'll ride Ninja and you'll like it. I gave it a 5, and 5 years later it's still going. As of my ride in 2023, it wasn't running that bad, but this coaster is still so outdated and janky, it needs to go. How much longer are they gonna ride with this thing? Number 14 is Hurler at Carowinds. Another sore subject, but one that's harder to explain. There's no reason this coaster still exists. King's Dominion already RMC'd their Hurler. Carowinds is one of Cedar Fair's favorite parks. They've done so much for this park, but they haven't really taken out the trash. They removed Thunder Road, but that's it. Even in 2022, I gave this an 8 out of 10. I thought they would either get a new GCI or RMC this, but no. They've added Aeronautica Landing, and next year they're getting a family coaster, so Hurler just keeps going. Number 13 was Time Warp and Flight Deck at Canada's Wonderland. I was wrong about this one, but I think my timing might just be off by a few years. I don't think either coaster has a long future at this park, and I was thinking they'd remove both and use that combined plot of land for a new launch coaster. They found another plot for Alpenfury, so scratch that idea. I only gave this a 3. Removing 2 coasters is kind of a big ask, and in the end, I think they leave the park one by one, and maybe in 5 or 6 years, that plot is used for a new ride. Number 12 was Predator at Six Flags Darien Lake. I had a terrible ride on this in 2018, right after Six Flags took over operations of the park, and I was thinking they'd RMC it or tear it down. They haven't ignored this coaster, but they've gone the route of putting Titan Trek on it, smoothing it out, doing more and more each year, and based on my ride in 2023, it was pretty smooth. I saw the writing on the wall in 2022. This was being refurbished and not torn down, so I only gave it a 1. Number 11 was Wicked Twister at Cedar Point. Finally, I got one right, and we knew about this one on the midterm video. This was always one of Cedar Point's least popular coasters, kind of set aside right on the beach, and it closed down for good almost 2 years after the original video, September 2021. It had a good 20 years at the park and made way for the new boardwalk in 2023. Number 10 was Wild Beast at Canada's Wonderland, the fourth and final coaster from Canada's Wonderland. I thought they'd at least remove one of the four, but no luck. Wild Beast is a park original, it's quite a painful ride, but it's kind of a fun ride, but it also takes up a lot of land. If they're not going to remove it, they need to at least give us some Titan track. I only gave this a 4. I thought Dragonfire was in more danger, but I think we just need to stop guessing that Canada's Wonderland is going to remove any coasters. Number 9 was Gemini at Cedar Point. When they took out Wicked Twister, I actually thought that put Gemini in more danger. They were willing to take out rides they considered outdated, and Gemini had seen better days. I thought Cedar Point would be looking for a big plot of land for their next big coaster, the one that would have to outdo Steel Vengeance. But since then, they've gotten Wild Mouse, Top Thrill 2, and Siren's Curse. I gave Gemini a 7, also noting 5 years might not be enough and it may need 10. Number 8 was Wildcat at Hershey Park. I can finally brag about this one. On my midterm video, we didn't know what was going on yet. Just that there were some markers, the chaser lights got removed, but I thought this could just be getting Titan track, so I only gave it a 7. A couple months after that, we learned about Wildcat's Revenge, so this coaster is number 2 on my win list. Number 7 was Excalibur at Valley Fair. You have to be careful about predicting coasters that leave a park that doesn't like adding new coasters, but Excalibur seemed like such a slam dunk. I thought I was beating the clock when I got up there to ride it in 2021, and even by 2022, I gave this an 8 out of 10. It's so far in the back of the park. It's actually in the water park. The ride is old and janky, it's in a flood zone, but in the end, this is Valley Fair. They haven't gotten a big boy coaster since 2007, and who knows, maybe they'll take this out and get a new coaster for their 50th anniversary in 2026. But as of now, I was wrong about Excalibur. Number 6 was the Flash Vertical Velocity at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom. Even on my first video, this coaster just got a repaint and a retheme. I still thought it was on its last leg, hardly ever open, probably not fun to maintain, expensive to run, but 5 years later and it's still around. I gave it a 7 back in 2022, especially since they were getting new coasters almost every year, and something compact would fit right there in the DC section. But in the end, I was wrong. Number 5 was Goliath at Six Flags New England. Here's another one I got right, and I talked about it in the midterm video. Little did I know, when I made the first video, this had already given its last ride. It closed with the park for the 2019 season and never reopened again, being torn down in 2021. I was convinced they'd move this to another park, but they ripped this to shreds and we'll never see it again. Number 4 was American Eagle at Six Flags Great America. This is one of the most talked about coasters. Will they? Won't they? Can they? This is kinda outside the park, and what they can do with the land is kind of in question. Apparently, the trains were on their last leg, but that was years ago. I even gave this a 7 back in 2022, but all signs now point to them keeping this alive. Getting both sides going, fixing it up. It seems like American Eagle is here to stay, and honestly, that's a good thing. This is a good ride. Number 3 was Viper at Six Flags Magic Mountain. I give Six Flags credit, they are really committed to this ride. Magic Mountain gets new coasters all the time, so it wouldn't be a big deal if they tore this down. It's huge, it's not very popular, it's outlived all the other Aero Mega Loopers by 15 to 20 years now, but it's still here and I'm very surprised. This is a prime plot of land, but as we have seen, Six Flags hasn't been breaking the bank, and this plot seems fit for something huge. Maybe now that Cedar Fair runs Six Flags, they'll replace Viper with a marquee coaster, but I'm fine if they want to wait. Honestly, this is my third favorite coaster in the park. Number 2 was Nighthawk at Carowinds. Yet another coaster that was closed on my last trip to the park. Actually, my last 2 trips to the park. It makes me wonder if I was just off by a couple years. Back in 2019, I was seeing Cedar Fair take down some major rides from their biggest parks, thinking that was going to be a trend, but it really wasn't. It may have been due to COVID, or maybe it was never in their long-term plans. Even in 2022, I thought this deserved a 7. This often closed, slow dispatch, bad capacity, high maintenance coaster, sitting right in the front of the park on a prime plot of land. It still seems like it's gotta go. As of now, still there. Number 1 was Anaconda at King's Dominion. Same logic, Cedar Fair was especially aggressive taking coasters out of King's Dominion, starting with Hurler and Shockwave, then Volcano, and it seemed like this great lakeside plot of land would be much better served by a modern coaster. Anaconda is one of the worst aero loopers still out there, but maybe Cedar Fair took too much from King's Dominion too fast and this got to stay. That makes me think it doesn't have another 5 years in it, and after Rapterra replaced Volcano, maybe they tear down Anaconda for their next major coaster. That was my list from December 3rd, 2019. As you can see, I got 3 right and 17 wrong. That's a pretty terrible track record. And there was, in fact, 20 notable coasters that bit the dust over the last 5 years, so I could have gotten 100%. Instead, I'm stuck with 15%. I'll talk about the perfect list later, but first, let's talk about the 10 coasters I added to my list in 2022, and this one was a little bit more impressive. Kumba at Busch Gardens, Tampa. At the time, there was a serious rumor about this being shut down, and honestly, it made a lot of sense. It dates back to 1993, in a park that's open every day. It could have been coming up to the end of its service life, but the park said it's staying, and 2.5 years later, it's still there. Vortex at Carowinds. Another old B&M, 1 year older than Kumba. Not a good ride, not a popular ride. A nice plot in the center of the park, but Cedar Fair has been very quiet with their ride removals. Flashback at Six Flags New England. I was still holding out hope that Six Flags would take this out in addition to Goliath, and open up a huge plot for a nice modern launch coaster. They chose to keep Flashback, and in Goliath's spot put a small scale launch coaster. So this remains and looks like it's not in any major danger. Top Thrill Dragster at Cedar Point. When I made the video, the ride was in the middle of its first summer out of operation, but we had no idea what was going to happen to it. I think people were still under the impression that it could reopen with some modifications, but the way it was totally overhauled, most people consider Top Thrill 2 a brand new credit. So I'm calling this a win. Top Thrill Dragster no longer exists. Lava Bora at Six Flags Over Texas. The sad thing is, I mentioned Alpine Bobsled, but I didn't think it would be taken out because Six Flags had no desire to replace it. Well, they proved me wrong. They did take it out and replaced it. Now, Lava Bora joins Alpine Bobsled in the scrapyard, recently announcing its closure, making way for a dive coaster in 2026. Diamondback at Frontier City. This might be my home park, but I've barely been there this year. Diamondback was open for its opening weekend, but beyond that, I don't know. In the past, it was open maybe a quarter of the time I'd be there, but until Six Flags is ready to pull a Great Escape and replace it, it's gonna stay there. Sand Serpent at Busch Gardens, Tampa. This coaster always seemed out of place for me. A random wild mouse in the middle of this gorgeous park, transplanted from the other Busch Gardens, and sure enough, in 2023 it shut down and was replaced by Phoenix Rising, a much more fitting ride for this plot of land. Possessed at Dorney Park. It appears the original plan for Dorney's new coaster was a Gravity Group Woody. That would have required Possessed to be removed, but after COVID that was scrapped and they changed directions. They went with Iron Menace instead, and that layout allowed the park to keep Possessed. So, because of that switcheroo, I was wrong about this one. Tidal Twister at SeaWorld San Diego. This was having a lot of downtime, and by 2022 we already knew Harley Quinn was gone. That was the other Skyline flat ride coaster, so the writing was on the wall when it came to Tidal Twister. This closed in July 2023, so that marks 4 coasters on my midterm list that are officially gone. Demon at Six Flags Great America. I was right that Great America was poised for a big new coaster, but I was convinced it would be a large-scale Raptor, and it may spell the end of the road for Demon. Then, the rocks over the loop fell on the ride, and we were just waiting to see what the park was going to do. They announced Wrath of Rakshasa, a year before I expected, a year before the park's 50th anniversary, and this did come very close to Demon's plot, but did not require Demon's removal. Demon stays for now. So, 5 years have passed, and of the 30 coasters I mentioned between 2019 and 2022, 7 of them are gone. I found 16 other notable coasters that also closed between then and now, so if I mastered the science of time travel, this would have been my 100% accurate list on December 3rd, 2019. Wicked Twister at Cedar Point, Goliath at Six Flags New England, Wildcat at Hershey Park, Top Thrill Dragster at Cedar Point, Sand Serpent at Busch Gardens Tampa, Tidal Twister at SeaWorld San Diego, Dragon at Adventureland, Canopy Corkscrew at Canopy Lake Park, Cheetah at Wild Adventures, Blue Streak at Coney at Lake Park, Primeval Whirl at Animal Kingdom, Harley Quinn Crazy Coaster at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom, T3 at Kentucky Kingdom, Alpine Bobsled at Great Escape, Flying School at Legoland Florida, Fire in the Hole at Silver Dollar City, Jetline at Groenland, Wild Train at Fantasiana, Scorpion at Busch Gardens Tampa, Teeny Weeny at Tusenfrid, Lava Bora at Six Flags Over Texas. Throw in 2 more recent ones, Green Lantern at Six Flags Great Adventure, and its neighbor, Kingda Ka. Finally, just for fun, let's look at 8 more coasters that might be in danger of closing in the next 5 years. Sidewinder at Elitch Gardens. This has been standing but not operating since the end of 2022. It was barely open before that anyway. We still don't know if this park is going to be shut down or moved to a new location. It just doesn't look good for this ride. Skyliner at Lakemont Park. This park announced it wouldn't run its rides in 2024, and who knows what the future holds. Leap the Dips is also here, but that's the world's oldest coaster. It seems like that'll stick around in some capacity no matter what happens at Lakemont, but I can see Skyliner going down with the park. This moved here in 1987, starting off at New York's Roseland Park in 1960. Steel Curtain at Kennywood. SNS is doing work to fix the structure, and it may open up without any problems. It may open up and have problems resurface, or it may never open up again. 2 of those scenarios spells doom for Steel Curtain, so we'll have to wait and see what happens when the park opens in the spring. Top Thrill 2 at Cedar Point. Kind of the same boat as Steel Curtain, but maybe not quite as much in danger. Zamperla, like SNS, is doing work to fix it for the 2025 season, and we'll see how successful they are. It could open up without any problems. It may open up and have problems resurface, or it may not ever open up again. The only difference is, from that point, I think Steel Curtain is doomed. For Top Thrill 2, I think Cedar Point will reach out to Intamin if all else fails, and they'll see what they can do to save the ride. Superman Escape from Krypton at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Honestly, this coaster seems to be on borrowed time. We saw DreamWorld's Tower of Terror go down years ago. This is an expensive, loud, not so popular coaster. It's been standing idle for months now. Given what we know about the direction of the Six Flags chain, this could easily be on the chopping block in the very near future. Kid Flash at Six Flags Over Georgia and Fiesta, Texas. These sound like they've been a lot of fun, not to ride, but for the parks trying to keep them open. These have both been listed as standing but not operating, so we'll see if they ever open again. I could see this going either way. Even if they do, how long will they really last? Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket at Universal Studios Florida. This is an awesome Mara coaster on the main street of Universal Orlando, but there have been rumors this could be gone soon. It dates back to 2009. A lot of people hate it. It runs rough and has a bunch of brake runs. And as great as this has been for me, it may be time soon for Universal to pull the plug and invest in something more modern. It would be a sad day, but I get it. Finally, Dragon Mountain at Marineland. This is in a park that has a lot of problems. Marineland is in a similar spot as Lakemont, shutting down its rides for 2024. If and when this park reopens or gets sold or what, we'll have to see what's the make of this classic aero looper. We've been afraid for this park and this coaster for a few years now, and it seems like it may have finally hit the fan. It's possible this place goes under. It's also possible this place gets a new owner. But if you didn't get to experience Dragon Mountain yet, keep your fingers crossed. That's all I have for now. Thanks to everyone who's been with me for the last 5 years and keeping this channel going long enough to get this far. It's pretty amazing how fast 5 years can come and go. If you have any predictions for coasters that may be gone in the next 5 years, let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like, and if you're new here and love coasters, and predicting their demise, please give me a sub. Also, check out my second channel where I post copyright-free off-ride footage. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.